Hey guys, Infidel 1258. Happy New Year. It's January 1st at the time of my recording, and there's a ton of things I want to see in 2023 for Splinterlands. People are asking me in the comment section, including close friends who I know where my head is at on Splinterlands, are asking me, how are things lately? What are your feelings lately? Do you feel like you're going to start de-risking, or you're going to start liquidating some of your assets? No. I mean, I honestly believe and I honestly wish I could acquire more of these assets, not sell some of them. The only reason I would sell any assets at these sort of price range would be to move into a different in-game asset that might have a unique and maybe shorter term possible gain. So no, I'm not de-risking. No, I'm not stepping back. For 2023, my hopes are high and my expectations are higher, let's say. But is that going to happen in 6 months, 12 months? Is it going to be years from now? I don't know, and I don't care. I'm going to enjoy the process. I'm going to be here creating content for you guys. I'm going to be having fun with this game, and I'm going to be collecting trivial rewards that will appreciate with time. That's my view on the effectiveness of this game. I really believe everything I've said to you about how this is a revolution in terms of rewarding your time and attention, and I don't think this game is going anywhere. So there are 6 things I want to talk to you about that I think we could see and we should be asking for in 2023 that would make significant improvements towards that long-term price appreciation, towards the sustainability of this amazing blockchain-based video game. I'm going to spend the rest of the video explaining those things to you. And if you have any questions, as always, drop them below. We are going to give away a plot of land. As if you don't know, I'm giving away a plot of land to somebody who either asks a great question that turns into a video or supports my YouTube channel financially. And that so far has only been in the form of monthly support for the channel. So without further ado, let's get into it. 6 things I think Splinterlands needs to do in 2023 that would really move the needle. The first one is land. We need to see playable land. We need to absolutely see land not just be claimable, but resources be extractable. And I think there are a lot of considerations that limit this possibility from becoming reality. I think the limitations or the concerns that stand in the way of this reality is there's a lot of concern around DEC returning to PEG. And as I understand it, that the concern comes out of a place where the land will produce resources. Some will produce, for instance, wheat, brick, slate, wood, whatever the resources happen to be. And they want to create a scenario where all of the resources are exchangeable one for one. But I think that is foolishness. I think that's actually a mistake. I haven't explicitly heard that said, so I could be off base here, but it's my understanding that that's the desire. And that's part of why they want to return DC to PEG, so that a PEG DC can facilitate those cross asset changes. If you bring brick to the market, you can give 1 brick for 100 DEC or something. In the background, the system is grabbing, it's grabbing your brick and exchanging it for 100 DEC, but then simultaneously selling that to somebody else who wants that brick and is offering wood, and you're getting the wood. So it can facilitate in this automated sense an exchange of brick for wood using a background currency of DEC. It's also possible that there would be markets for 1-to-1, but you could see how complicated that would be. If you had brick and specifically want wheat, that market is going to be however shallow or however deep. You really want the DEC to back the trade so that it's easy to move from one asset to another with the background of DEC. So with that in mind, they want PEG. I think DEC can be a background note. Let that be the exchange rate for all of the land. But I don't think we need PEG. I think what we ultimately need to recognize is that controlling the land economy, the tokens are going to have a value of whatever they're going to have. A free market should exist where if brick is potentially relatively useless, and I don't think any asset will be useless. Hear me. I don't think any asset will be useless. But if for a certain week or month or day, a certain asset is not particularly desirable or the market floods with that asset, I believe that price should decline, because that's what a free market would do. Too much supply reaches the marketplace, the price should go down. Too much demand reaches the marketplace, the price should go up. And so my view is that regardless of what the DEC exchange rate should be, every asset should be tradable for DEC. And you should just go in with your DC into the non-card market and be able to buy slate or wood or brick. And maybe the exchange rate for one is 100-to-1. Maybe for another, it's 500-to-1. I don't know and I don't care. I think the free market should be allowed to decide that. And I think if we get to a place where we agree that the free market should reign over those tokens as opposed to a controlled economy where it's a set price of equivalent value for one token to another, I think that if we step away from that controlled economy, we're going to find that we can launch land sooner, I think. Because this is one of the concerns, I believe, one of the hurdles standing in the way. So let's agree that a free market's possible for those resources. We don't need to control the economy so that wood is valued the same as brick. I don't care. You shouldn't care. Let's just get land out sooner than that. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting back waiting for DEC to reach peg. And I think that's a bigger can of worms. And I think this is such a big deal because land is going to actually facilitate the return to peg on DEC in a lot of ways. We've talked about land potions, there's land maintenance, upgrades of buildings on your land, travel between land locations, moving resources from one plot to another, because probably you've got wood in a certain plot, you got to move it over to the far off region to support that other region. And what more, it's been referred to as a tax on the game, which I think is fine. Especially since land is one of the assets that mostly the richest of the rich that enjoy this game and that benefit from the game have been able to benefit from. It's not everybody that owns a plot of land, nor can everybody. In fact, some people have hundreds or dozens or thousands of plots. And as a landowner and as a person who wants to accumulate even more land, I think it behooves us to create a scenario where land benefits the owner, but simultaneously owning land benefits the community because it draws a burn mechanic for DC through these, what I would call taxation methods. Land potions, land maintenance, upgrades, travel, etc. That's a deletion of DC through taxation at every sort of step. And I'm going to benefit from those, so I'm going to use those opportunities, whether it's potions or maintenance or whatever, and then the community is going to benefit. So I think this is a great thing we need to see in 2023. Land needs to properly be released, and I think the big hurdle, if I'm understanding the community correctly, is that this DEC peg issue, and they want to see it be restored first. I actually think land needs to come before the peg restores, so that peg can be restored. I think it's the other way around. And number two, the DEC return to peg is something that has to happen in 2023. And I think there's a lot of considerations around that. One of them is the one we just talked about with land. But there's lots of other things we could talk about, and I've got a couple more here that I want to suggest. I talked about in a previous video how you could burn DEC. There are certain blockchain projects that have just said, they've voted through their decentralized governance, and they've just voted to delete X amount of their token. And a percentage of it's just gone forever. And that could be resources in the DAO that we agree to delete because we want the market to shrink. I don't know whether that's a good idea. I'm just saying that's an option. There could be things like you could release a new title within the game that it requires you to burn X amount of DEC. 100,000 DEC, 1 million DEC gets burned, and you get the title of, Burninator. There's also one more burn mechanic. You can do a little bit of burn mechanic on every sort of transaction. Every time you move DC from one wallet to another, it's possible, and this would be a blockchain-based coding thing that I don't fully understand, but it's possible that you could burn a trivial amount of DC on every sort of transaction, whether it's one DC on every DC transaction, just understanding that there are thousands of DC transactions and it would add up over months and years. Maybe that's something we would want to consider. Possibly it's technically complicated and I wouldn't understand that side of things. If so be it. I'm brainstorming here. DEC to DECB, the suggestion that we saw, the proposal of which I disliked. There's a reasonable conversation to be had around that. We could make it soulbound. And I've heard some of the comments and some of the critiques and some of the feedback. Some of you feel I don't get the value of DECB. I don't understand how this would create demand. I believe you're mistaken. I believe I do understand the finances of what would happen with DECB, and I stand by my previous comments around DECB being a terrible idea as it was originally proposed. I believe DECB, if it is transferable, would translate to a DEC equivalent, because they do many of the same things currently. The only real thing you can't do with DCB is put it into a liquidity pool. Okay, fine. That's one significant difference. But liquidity pools aren't even garnering new DC at this point. They're garnering SPS. So I would argue that DC and DCB are going to offer similar utility at this moment in time. And that's generally going to be building guild buildings. And so, yeah, there's an interesting argument for offering a discounted DCB product But then allowing that to be transferable is going to lead to its liquidity on the third-party marketplace, because people who want guild building updates are going to desire DCB because it's 20% cheaper. So they're going to go to the third-party marketplace and they're going to pay 15% less on DCB than on DEC. That's not going to help DEC prices. And I think that's part of why we're already seeing DEC prices fall. And so propose DCB or something like it, but make it soulbound. Yes, you get a discount on it. Yes, as a big whale, if you want, long-term guild support and upgrades, and you want all of those other benefits that they talked about, like the land potions and the maintenance and upgrades, maybe future packs that they're going to offer, you can have access to that, but it's got to be non-transferable. Otherwise, it's going to find its way to the marketplace and it's going to undermine the price of DEC. That's, in my opinion, absolutely non-questionable, and I feel very strongly about that. So I'm willing to consider a soulbound DCB product. Another option is that we just go different altogether. Instead of a DCB product, what if we just create some sort of discount to move into credits? Right now, I think if you're moving from DC into credits, you're going to end up paying whatever US dollar value for your DEC is going to translate into credit value. But what if we did a peg value? That'd be a significant bonus for big DC holders to acquire a bonus, but then the credit asset is locked in. It's not going to be, it's not DC. It's going to help us return to peg because it's going to dry up a lot of liquidity off of the marketplace of the DC. There's 6 billion out there. Now, there would be some problems with this though, because credits need to eventually be paid by Splinterlands. When you buy $1 worth of credits using fiat currency, you're going to later spend that $1, and that credit, when you buy the asset using the $1 you have in credits, Splinterlands, the team, the company, will finalize that transaction by submitting the $1 worth of DEC on your behalf. So if they issue credits now in exchange for DEC, what they're doing is they're using their own company money, their own company runway to dry up liquidity around DEC. And I heard Foyer talk about this with Aftersound the other day. He didn't say specifically this idea of credits, but he said something that I think we should be asking for. He said, Splinterlands, the team, needs to put their money where their mouth is. And if they want to return DEC to peg, they need to acquire these assets with their own dollars. And now maybe that requires third-party funding between, and maybe that requires them selling some proportion of the company. I don't know, but I think putting it on them to spend corporate dollars to back their own game, as opposed to in this moment during the bear market, looking to the community to buy up that product, DCB or credit or whatever else other equivalent you want to create. I just don't know that that's the best way to play it. I know that they want to maximize their runway. I know that they're concerned about the long-term survivability of the game, and so am I. But I'm saying, is there a middle ground where the company could stand up in this moment of difficulty and say, well, we're going to do X specifically to pull some of the DEC off the marketplace. Credits could be an option with that. Offering some kind of a discount to incentivize that transfer could be an option. Option number 3, and again, it comes back to helping DEC return to peg. Change the leaderboard rewards. Right now, we're offering, I hear it's around 7 to maybe 10 million DEC every season. 15 to 20 million DEC a month are being offered to leaderboard rewards in this game. Those significant payouts are making it really difficult to return us to a DEC peg. It's a ton of extra liquidity that's sloshing around with the other 6 billion DEC that are out on the marketplace. Now remember, this problem was created through the inflation that happened through the algorithmic inflation when DEC was below peg above peg, and the SPS rewards were essentially incentivizing people to not sell DEC, which meant algorithmic inflation kept increasing. And it was this perfect, ascension, this perfect bull market for DEC that translated into way more than usual being printed. And now we have to deal with it. And I think part of the path to that is removing DEC from this extra DEC liquidity from the leaderboard. It's a ton of extra DEC at every level. Bronze, silver, gold, diamond, they're all paying significant DC payouts. What could we do instead of that? I mean, I talked previously about Chaos Legion packs. If you said, look, Yui has got 40,000 DC at first place, why don't we give him 10 Chaos Legion packs? I think you then have to ask, well, where are the Chaos Legion packs coming from? I think you could do a couple things. One, we could set forward a proposal whereby the team, instead of burning 25,000 Chaos Legion packs every day, maybe they take 2,000 per day and they put it into escrow. Maybe they go into the DAO. Maybe those are held in escrow through the DAO and paid to leaderboard holders for the foreseeable future. You'd want to think through how many we want to accumulate. Maybe it's, instead of burning, maybe all 25,000 daily, instead of getting burned, end up going to the DAO. And as a product of that, they then distributed forever, like until they run out. And then the question will be, well, how long will it run out? That's why you'd want to determine, is it 5,000 a day? Is it 2,000 a day? Is it 25,000 a day that we want to move from the burn into the DAO? I'd want a thoughtful analysis of that before we made a final proposal. But strikes me as they're already being deleted. What if we just repurpose that deletion and put them aside for the longevity of the game and for the development of the team and the restoration of DEC PEG? I think that would be an interesting option. Now, leaderboard players might dislike that, and maybe that hurts the long-term, professional growth of the game, because we do want to incentivize the leaderboard players. We want to incentivize the best players to keep playing and to love the game. So, I'd love to see comments below on whether we hate that idea or not. But it strikes me as a financial option. Or if not, Chaos Legion packs, which to me is the easiest thing, because Chaos Legion packs are already being deleted. We could just repurpose that deletion. But as an alternative, we could issue credits, couldn't we? What if we gave you 100,000 credits? Again, it's the same thing. The team would have to later solve that, would have to pay for that. But they have to pay for this in a sense. These are DEC they've accumulated. I don't know if that it doesn't make that much difference, except it makes the significant difference that they can't just then, they can use it to buy cards. They could use it to buy in-game assets through the non-card market, etc. But it isn't DEC that's making its way into circulation directly. So it might be preferable in that way. Number 4, Soulbound reward cards. I think reward cards are becoming dirt cheap, and they have been for a while, and you know that. But if you just look at, we're slipping below a penny now. Maybe we go down to half of a penny. That's like the olden times for reward cards. I, for one, am buying these things. I know that there's too many of them. I know that the concern is that they're never going to appreciate. I don't buy that. I'm accumulating these super inexpensive assets, especially since they're rentable, especially since I own them, especially since I can play them on multiple accounts. I can delegate them to friends or to future players. I can create decks with things like Nifty and etc. So I think it makes a lot of sense for somebody like me who believes to acquire these assets at these prices. So I am, but I get that the prices are significantly low, and a part of that is because there are significant print rates on these assets. Now they are coming to an end relatively soon. The print rates are getting, long in the tooth, as they say. We're getting 96% on the Heatsmith. It's going to be cool to see some of these things disappear off of the reward chain forever, which means part of this conversation, we need to expect in the very near future more reward cards. That's cool too. That's a separate conversation. I don't want to focus too much on that. I am excited about that, but the bigger issue for me is just seeing that the reward cards are at least augmented, added to with Soulbound options. Maybe we continue to offer non-Soulbound reward cards, such as these you see on the screen. But I also think we need to have Soulbound reward cards, which can't be financially traded so easily, which are never unbound, but it can always be played, enjoyed. I don't think they should be rented. I don't think they should be sold. I don't think it should be unbindable. I think they should just be enjoyable and help you win and perform at a higher league level, because they add utility to your deck and they add, enjoyment to your play time. I think there's a lot of reasons why Soulbound reward cards would be good for the game, but I think part of it is drying up of the financial saturation of the marketplace. And that's everything, right? That's everything in this game, whether it was Chaos Legion, then Rift Watchers, land plots and DC and SPS and, nightmare packs and on and on. There's just been so many things to buy and to desire that as a result, our community can't can't soak up all of the assets, and then they all languish. All the prices dwindle because a certain amount of demand meets the new release, and then a lot of the assets linger. And so if we could just if we could stop issuing so many new resource friendly sellable products, I think we would find that we would slowly get through things. We're already starting to get through Chaos Legion, and part of it is, of course, the burn, but it's nice to see we're above 12, which means soon we're going to get the Immortalis reward card. Plus, we're not even just above 12. Like, it's nice to see. It actually feels like it's happening rapidly now, and the 25,000 a day is helping, for sure, in a big way. But I'm happy we're getting through that. And then Rift Watchers is, I think, close to 1 million or just over, getting close to 1 million. So, it's going to be so nice when we get through this, but Rebellion is going to be here before you know it. And I feel like we're just going to be so saturated with these resources, these new options of things to buy, unless we kind of curtail, maybe for a period of time even, offer Soulbound reward cards. I think they would be good for the game forever, but I think it should be an addition to the reward cards that you can sell. Meaning, for 3 months, there's a certain reward card. For another 3 months, there's a different reward card. These are Soulbound. It doesn't mean that we don't have some that you can sell. Yes, we will. But these are also extras, and you're going to want them, and they're going to help you win more, and you're going to earn them through spending your time and attention, which means you're going to play the game even more, which means you might spend more money renting or buying other assets and becoming like more and more a fan and more deeply invested because there's reasons to be here longer than, let's say, half an hour a day. I think Soulbound reward cards are a big part of what we need to see in 2023. And I think associated to that is a season pass. It doesn't have to be directly related, but I do think a season pass works really well with the idea of Soulbound reward cards. Maybe Soulbound reward cards are a benefit of season passes. So a season pass, you don't need to buy the season pass, but if you do buy the season pass, you can earn Soulbound reward cards. You can earn other Soulbound assets like skins or aesthetic, artwork that can change either the skin of your character, the background of Splinterlands the game, maybe the screen of the battle forum that you're playing on, maybe your own little icon here. There's lots of different things that you can imagine being given away for free that would come out of a season pass. Maybe it's even season pass chests that are specifically full of Soulbound assets. Why would this be helpful? And why is it so important for 2023? Well, I think it's important because it's going to create regular income for the Splinterlands team. I think that's an important thing in this bear market. I'm not, if the beginning half of this conversation or this video sounds as though I'm pointing the finger, trying to, get them to deal with this and eat up the DEC. Well, I do want to support them also. I see what they've done and I see, how they've tried to help us. And I see what, I believe in this team. I am excited for their direction and their vision for the future, and I want to support them. And I do think season passes would be part of doing that. It would provide a regular income for them that could be more above and beyond like just the battle pass, not the battle pass, the above and beyond the spell book, and any sort of credit sales that they might earn or whatever else or pack sales that they might do. And so I think it's an important income for the team. And I think as a product of issuing mostly non-monetary rewards, you could incentivize a certain type of player who loves to kind of achieve all of the skins and unlockables and aesthetic bonuses, which is going to be me, by the way. I think is going to be incentivized to play the game more often. And yes, a product of this could probably, and I think make a lot of sense if it was those Soulbound reward cards we just spent time talking about. You got to get the season pass. You pay $20 per 3 months, let's say, and then you earn SPL, coins, and those can buy you Soulbound reward cards, or you get Soulbound chests, and those chests can have reward cards or SPL coins in them or whatever. And I think daily and weekly and monthly sort of tasks you have to accumulate that unlock even more sort of Soulbound rewards, whether it's tokens that can buy Soulbound rewards or tokens that can buy skins or skins themselves, etc. I think this is a helpful next step, helping Splinterlands have more runway and longevity and sustainability through, financial, consistency. And so I think that should be really a focus for 2023. And lastly, draft mode tournaments. I've heard you guys talk about it a ton of times already. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You know, I don't know that I don't participate in a lot of tournaments, period. But the rewards can be really significant. And I know that the Magic the Gathering community loves the idea of draft mode tournaments, whereas you would enter a tournament, and the tournament, instead of having a specific card limitation, a certain pack edition, a certain league level, it would be you can buy X amount of packs, 10 packs, 20 packs of Chaos Legion cards, and you would buy them off of the Splinterlands team marketplace, and then that would be your entrance fee into the tournament, and then you have some sort of draft mode selection of those cards. There's a variety of ways to implement this, I've learned, but you would, through the pack purchases you made, you would then choose the cards from the packs that you opened, and so would your opponent, and then you compete, and not only do you keep those cards forever, so you haven't really lost the price of admission. You've earned those cards, for one thing. But for two, you can win those tournaments, and those tournaments can be quite significant in terms of prize payouts also. So I think it's obviously a desirable thing for most of this community, and I think it would be one of the ways that we would help sell packs, grow the economy for the team, help the runway, and get rid of these assets that have accumulated and that are sitting on the shelves for so long now. I think those are the 6 things I think need to be, I guess, tackled, approached in 2023, the necessary next steps in 2023 for Splinterlands. I'm going to say them again: Playable Land and all that that entails, DC returning to PEG, changing the leaderboard rewards, possibly to Chaos Legion packs. I'm open to other considerations, but it feels like Chaos Legion packs are the easiest. Soulbound reward cards, season pass, and draft mode tournaments. Guys, do you feel I missed any? Is there something you really think needs to happen that's even more important than these, or maybe just in addition to these? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'll do a video on that, and if I do, you'll have an opportunity to win a plot of land in 2023. Have an amazing day. Happy New Year. God bless.